That day, March 1st, 1919, changes started to happen. A stronger nation, a dream of freedom that united people together, the story of great passion to find back their lost nation. 102 years ago, we got back on our feet with our own strength, hand in hand. This is the story. What is Samiljeol? Let's break it down into each syllable. It has three parts. Sam means three, 일 means one, and jeol means festival day. 1910. Japanese Empire annexation of Korea. Korea was annexed by the Empire of Japan after years of war. In order to establish control over its new protectorate, the Empire of Japan waged an all-out war on Korean culture. Schools and universities forbade speaking Korean, and it also became a crime to teach history from non-approved texts, and authorities burned over 200,000 Korean historical documents, essentially wiping out the historical memory of Korea. Both Woodrow Wilson's concept of national self-determination and the growing support from international Korean groups gave hope to Koreans pressing for independence from Japan. A group of 33 religious leaders made up of Methodists, Protestants, Cheondogo, and Buddhists were led by Song Byung-hee, Lee Sun-hoon, and Han Yong-un to draft a Korean Declaration of Independence, which they prepared to spread throughout the country. Campaigners held non-violent rallies in Seoul, Anseong, Pyongyang, Jinnampo, Iju, and Wonsan on March 1st, and over the next 2 days, groups organized more rallies in the vast majority of the country's cities and towns. The protesters were school children, housewives, farmers, craftsmen, politicians, intellectuals, and religious leaders. These protests were designed to appeal to the consciences of the Japanese and erupted unpredictably throughout the country. However, the Japanese power holders' response was brutally violent. By April 10th, more than 300 cities had held non-violent parades, demonstrations, and non-violent raids of police stations, post office, and other Japanese outposts. There were more than 7,000 people killed by Japanese soldiers and police officers, around 16,000 wounded. As they protested, they shouted in unison, 대한독립 만세, which means Long Live Korea. After the movement, Korea did not win its independence until 1945. March 1st, 1919 marked the beginning of Korea's dream of freedom. Many people started to come together secretly and continued to fight for their independence. In Korea, Samiljeol became considered as a national holiday in 1949. In 𝗵𝗂𝗀𝗂𝗃, there is a ceremonial ringing of the bell called 𝗵𝗂𝗀𝗃 every year to remember the activists. Koreans all over the world celebrate Samiljeol and put up the Korean flag in front of their homes.